A car pulled up to the intersection, and Rick and Shane stepped out of the vehicle. Shane was confused as to why he had stopped here. Rick said he wanted to talk to him. Immediately afterwards, he named some of Shane's behaviors. First, it was revealed that Shane had killed Otis to stay alive. Shane doesn't feel guilty. One of the two had to die in that situation. To save Carl, he had no choice. Rick has no reason to accuse him of this. Then Rick said that he already knew about Shane and Lori. Shane didn't think Rick already knew about it and was somewhat ashamed. Shane didn't want to get involved with Rick's wife, but the world was changing so fast. And at that time, in the hospital, soldiers were killing ordinary people, and Shane couldn't take Rick away. Along the way, Shane protected Rick's wife and son, and slowly, they became Shane's motivation to live. Shane said if he had the chance to do it all over again, he wouldn't do it. Listening to Shane's words, Rick was relieved that Shane had the great kindness to him. They went on to check the trunk of the car. The purpose of their trip was to send Randall to a distant place and let him fend for himself. The car drove on for 30 kilometers, and they came to a small town factory. The place looked quiet. Rick and Shane got out of the car to check it out and see if it was safe to leave the boy there. Soon, a zombie appeared inside. Shane was about to shoot it, but Rick stopped him. Sometimes, there's no need to shoot. He made a cut on his finger and smeared the blood on the fence. The blood feed stimulated the zombie to rush over. Rick didn't panic and stuck the knife in his head. Then they came inside and checked. It was indeed very quiet, and there was no danger. They also found a strange phenomenon. The two corpses on the ground did not have bite marks on them but also turned into zombies. It's strange, but it's just not the time to study this. They took Randall out next, left him here, and then they were leaving. Randall panicked and shouted to join them and not leave him behind. Rick didn't budge a bit. They just dropped a dagger and were ready to leave him to his own devices. Randall became even more anxious, stating that he was just normal and had gone to school with Maggie. This statement caused Rick and Shane to stop in their tracks and then turn to look at him. Rick and Shane angrily questioned him at the same time if he and Maggie had gone to school together. Randall said yes, but that Maggie had probably forgotten about him. Then Randall said he also knew Maggie's father, Herschel. He didn't realize the seriousness of the problem at this point. Randall may have known the farm's location before the world's end. The two are now very difficult to do. Shane directly said that Randall knows the location of their farm, and if he returns to the team, the consequences are not well estimated. Shane then shot directly but was stopped by Rick. Rick said angrily could not kill him now. Shane knows Rick is being soft again. Rick then said he would spend the night thinking about what to do with him. Shane yelled directly in anger. He was very dangerous and they had killed Randall's teammates. Would Lori be able to sleep soundly if they took him back, and would Carl be able to sleep comfortably? Shane said Rick's approach was stupid and didn't think Rick could protect Lori and Carl's safety. This comment completely angered Rick, and he wanted to defend his sovereignty. The two brothers just wrestled with each other. They are both police officers, and both have very good fighting skills. Randall took this opportunity to crawl toward the knife. At this point, Shane also had the upper hand. His body was too strong. Shane then went to the car, bent down, and picked up the pistol on the ground. And just as he was about to shoot, Rick stopped him again. He punched Shane so hard that his head was dizzy. Randall on the other side also got the knife and tried to cut the rope on his feet in a great hurry. Rick stopped Shane and says that from now on these things are not up to him. Shane then grabbed the tool in his hand and angrily smashed it toward Rick. He looked at Shane incredulously. The good brother was trying to kill him himself. But at this time, a hand appeared in the window, and there was a zombie inside. Rick easily solved the zombie, but he just breathed a sigh of relief when several more zombies came out of the window. Rick hurriedly covered the corpse on himself. The zombies did not find him, and they forced Shane to chase. Shane stumbled and tried to open the car door to climb up, but the zombies behind him did not give him the opportunity. A zombie also noticed Randall cutting the rope. The moment the zombie pounced on him, he finally untied the rope on his leg, and then he kicked broken off the zombie's arm. The rope on the hand cannot be untied for a while and can only hand first around the front. First, the zombie in front of you to solve it. Rick is still running for his life. He has the same zombie chasing behind him, no weapons in his hands, and he can only rush to find his pistol under the car. Rick just got the pistol and solved the zombie who came over, and then other zombies also jumped up. Rick thought of a way to shoot directly through the mouth of the first zombie. A series of several shots until the bullets shot out. Shane was at his wit's end and had to hide in the bus. Rick also found Randall. At this time, must bring this man back, and cannot let him leave. Rick stood up and saw Shane surrounded by about 10 zombies. Randall persuaded Rick to take this opportunity to escape. Rick also had an evil thought in his mind. With that, he took Randall and left. Shane couldn't believe it when he saw it, and they just left. Rick came outside, took their guns off the guards, and then looked at them and started to think as if remembering the scene when he and Shane worked together. Shane here is about to lose it. Just then, Rick came back in his car. He stuck his head out and fired several shots, shouting at Shane to run to the back door. Shane also no longer hesitated, quickly ran towards the back door, jumped into the car, and then left this dangerous place. Randall is beyond excited. This is just so cool. But Rick looked at him with anger. After they walked a little way, they continued to tie him up and threw him into the trunk. In a post-apocalyptic world, you can't let go of someone who might reveal the team's location, even if it's Randall, who looks like a child. Daryl beat him hard. Under Daryl's cruel tactics, he panicked and said that there were 30 of them in total and that he had joined them to survive but was not in cahoots with them. Daryl's eyes had become fierce, did not believe what he said. Anger kicked him. Outside the door, the crowd was still waiting for the results of Daryl's interrogation, and they didn't know what to do with the boy. Daryl walked past with blood on his hands. There were 30 of them in total, and they were heavily armed. If they come to the farm, they will definitely pose a threat to them. After hearing Daryl's description, everyone agreed that the group had no moral ground to stand on. Rick thought that Randall was a threat and should not be left behind. Dale, however, was not happy with such a hasty decision and rushed after Rick, advising him not to do so. Rick said he had been thinking about it for a long time, and with the information he had learned from Daryl, everyone acquiesced to this. Dale's heart is good. He thinks Rick cannot just decide the life and death of others. He also does not have the right, and this is just a child. Rick was a little speechless. Making such a decision was also very difficult for him, and at this moment, he did not want to discuss the matter too much. Dale started moral kidnapping directly, asking Rick to think about Carl and how Carl would precede him if he did this. Acting on impulse and without regard for the consequences, Dale asked Rick to give him a day. He wanted to talk to everyone. Rick reluctantly said that he would let everyone gather again at sunset to vote and make a final decision. Next, Dale was ready to find others to convince them. He was the first to find Andrea, but Andrea's attitude was also very clear that the teenager is a danger. It is difficult to let go of a guy who will bring people to kill them. Dale continues to persuade that although it's the end times, it's their choice whether to retain their humanity or not. Andrea didn't want to argue with him. At a time like this, mercy is cruelty to oneself. Dale then finds Daryl. Since seeing Sophia's death, Daryl has become somewhat negative, believing that the team is no longer united. He wants to mind his own business and doesn't care about Randall's death. Dale found Herschel to canvass again, but Herschel only cared about his missing cow. He said to just let Rick handle these things. They want to survive under the post-apocalyptic world, not to plot against others, but also to prevent others from plotting against them. Finally, Dale found Shane. He disliked Shane's sinister and ruthless nature, and this idea must have been suggested by him. But at this point he wanted to persuade Shane to change his ways. Shane said directly that everyone is now in danger. If people think that the release of Randall will not be okay, he does not have a problem. After a while, Shane came to the house where Randall was being held to change shifts. Randall also heard them talking outside. At this time, there was a sound from above his head, and little Carl was sitting on the roof beam. Randall complimented Carl on his handsome hat as a way to improve their relationship. Carl then lets his guard down and starts to come down from the beam. Randall continued to tempt Carl, saying that their camp was well stocked and that if they let him go, he would take Carl there and care for his family. Carl didn't say anything, and he just approached Randall carefully. The door suddenly opens, and Shane bursts in. He was confused as to why Carl was there and then asked Randall warily what he had said to him. He would not allow any harm to come to Carl and wanted to kill Randall directly. Good and Andrea in the back constantly advised him to calm down. Shane then put away the gun. He pulled Carl out. Carl begged Uncle Shane not to tell his parents about it. Shane taught Carl to stay away from Randall, that he was dangerous. Shane then said he wouldn't tell Rick and told Carl to get out of there. After being reprimanded, Carl went to Sophia's grave and wondered what he was thinking. Carol approached him and said they would be reunited with Sophia in heaven. She didn't expect Carl to say no. Heaven is a lie, and people who believe in it are fools. Carol was baffled. How could a child say such things? Rick found out about this and found Carl and told him to apologize to Carol. Carl was reprimanded twice in a row and was a bit depressed. He returned to Daryl's place and looked at these things curiously, especially the cool motorcycle, and a pistol was found in the storage box of the motorcycle. Carl looked around and found no one there, so he took the pistol and went to the woods. He went to the river, where he saw a zombie. Carl was a little scared, but the zombie seemed trapped in the mud and posed no threat to him. Carl got brave, picked up a stone, and smashed it, but the zombie couldn't move. He suddenly had a crazy idea and ran directly behind the zombie, took out the pistol, and tried to kill him like an adult. But he didn't notice that one of the zombie's feet was already a little loose. At this time, the zombie broke free and lunged directly, grabbing one of Carl's feet. Carl then screamed in fear, broke away and ran towards the farm in fear. By the time he got back, it was late afternoon, and everyone was ready to vote on Randall's life and death. Rick just looked at Carl's pants and asked no more questions. At the meeting, Dale knew the vote was just a formality. No one is for him. They all agree that they should not be soft-hearted. Dale always insisted that he should be given a chance, but the people questioned, "We're already short on supplies, so we can't keep an extra man. If they let him work, they would have to prevent him from escaping, and they might bring back 30 men and kill them all." Dale started preaching to the group again, hoping to change their minds. He didn't think it was right to kill him because of one possible thing that could happen. If they did, there would be no hope for their lives. Shane was speechless. Carol couldn't stand the bickering and offered to abstain from the vote. Dale told her directly that watching indifferently was no different than killing him with his own hands. Finally, the meeting was dissolved in the voice of Dale's opposition. At night, four figures appeared in the dark. It is Rick. Several people. They were about to execute Randall. Shane blindfolded him and told him it would soon be over. Randall understood what was about to happen and his voice began to choke up as he kept begging not to do this. Rick didn't dawdle and raised his gun ready to end his life. At this point, no one noticed Carl walk in, and Rick had a hesitant look.
Do it.
For this moment the scene becomes a little awkward. They certainly cannot do this in front of children. Rick put away the gun. He softened up and let Daryl lock him up. Shane slams the door in anger and leaves the place. The crowd watched Rick come back, and he told everyone that he didn't execute Randall. The crowd is also relieved. They are also very conflicted. No one wants to just kill a person, but do not know what to do. Andrea gets up and prepares to go to Dale and tell him the news, but Dale was about to lose his life this night.